What's up, everybody? It's your boy Duel, back here with another video. Today we'll be reviewing episode 10, titled Persona. And this episode was written by Matt Wayne and directed by Dan Fawcett. We've got a lot to talk about. There is actually a ton of stuff that's happening in this episode as per usual. So, like I said before, we're just going to jump right in. Peter's running home from school and he's like in a rush. And he's shocked that Aunt May doesn't have the Alien TV discovery on the TV. Peter starts talking to Aunt May, and Aunt May's like, "Oh, Peter, we don't buy into the alien stuff," something along those lines. And Peter's like, "It's not just like an alien; it's organic mud." And he turns on the TV, and the newscast comes on, and the news says that the mud has been discovered, and it's being flown to Empire State University. And as this is happening, there's a shot where the alien goo is being delivered to the university, and Eddie Brock is like zoomed in on. So it's a nice little piece of foreshadowing that he's going to get the symbiote. So I thought that was a nice little touch. They announced it's going to be just studied by Dr. Kirk Connors. So Peter is very excited because he thinks that he's got an inside to get a scoop on the alien goo. He calls up Eddie right away, and he's like, "Hey man, can I take a look at that goo? I want to go see it. That's so cool." And he's like, "No go, bro. Martha's already shut that down. No photographers and no reporters, especially photographers that she don't trust." And it's weird because I think the last time that we saw Eddie Brock, he was actually, he was very mad at Peter since, he went to, Homecoming or whatever with MJ. And just completely, blowing off Gwen in a sense. Like, he was very angry at Peter, but now all of a sudden he's back to normal. Everything's cool. So it's weird because they never really address that. I think that's supposed to be meant as like building up this anger for Peter over time. Oh, well, he did this for the Bugle. He's selfish, and now he's blowing off Gwen. But now he's here back to, hey, bro, we're bros again. But it doesn't last long, and we'll get into that very shortly. Peter's very sad when he realizes that he can't get in, but he also remembers that he's Spider-Man, and maybe Spider-Man can get a closer look at the goo. It transitions to nighttime, and he goes to the university, and he's watching everybody exit. And while he's trying to get in to look through like the glass ceiling, he looks down, and there's somebody else in there, and it looks like a cat figure. And then the episode starts. Black Cat is about to steal the goo before Peter stops her, and she gets really close to him, and it almost makes him a little bit uncomfortable. He's like, "Listen, I don't want to fight you." And she's like, "Oh, don't worry. Cats don't fight spiders. They just bat them around." And so now we've got the official introduction to the Black Cat. They start to fight, and as they're fighting, Black Cat's like, "Hey, you're pretty skillful. We could steal the goo together and make some cash together." And Spider-Man's like, "Yeah, but I'd have to turn in my friendly neighborhood superhero card in," or something along those lines. And while they're fighting, they're kind of flirting back and forth. Like, she's flirting with him, and Spidey's like picking up what she's putting down, but also being kind of awkward about it. He's kind of distracted also too. As he's like talking to her, the alien goo is like, coming towards him, and it gets on his foot, and he doesn't realize it. Connors walks in, and it catches Spider-Man off guard, and because of this, the Black Cat's able to knock him down or punch him, knock him out of the way. So he's like completely distracted at this point. And then as he gets up, he realizes that the Black Cat is gone, and he comes to the conclusion that the Black Cat must have stolen the alien goo. Spider-Man tells Connors to call the cops and that he'll go after her. It's the next day, and a newspaper is released from the Bugle where it indicates that Spider-Man stole the goo. The FBI and Captain Stacy arrive at the university, and they're asking Dr. Connors about Spider-Man. And Connors is like, "Well, Spider-Man doesn't usually come and steal things. He's usually here to save the day," kind of thing. Eddie and Gwen are not too far off in the university, and they're looking at the Bugle paper together. And Eddie is very, very mad at Peter because it's a photo that he took when he was, running around being Spider-Man. And he gets angry, saying he thought that Spider-Man was a hero, because the article indicated Spider-Man stole the goo. He's like, "Man, I thought Spidey was a hero, and I thought Pete was a human being." And he gets very upset, and he walks off. But before he walks off, Gwen tries to stop him and says, "Eddie, wait." And Eddie's like, "Nah, he had a second chance. Bro had a second chance, and now it's over. He's done." Which is kind of odd because you think that, if they, I don't know how long they've been friends in this show, but you would think that Eddie would, think a little differently before that. So I kind of wish that they would show something was going on with Eddie prior to this. It would give more empathy for the character, for him just jumping to conclusions right away. Because Gwen doesn't do it. She doesn't jump. She's not angry with Peter. So that's how you think that Eddie should be acting, considering however long they've been friends for. If you assume it's a long time, or a long enough-ish time, that, Eddie would give him the benefit of the doubt. But I guess not, and he walks off. Peter's mad because he's going to go talk to JJ, but JJ immediately tells him to get out. And he's mad because they're using the photo that he took to say that Spider-Man, took the goo, and that's not true. So Peter tries to tell JJ that, that's not what happened. He was there trying to save the day. And, and he's like, yeah, get out of my office. That's crap. Spider-Man's a fraud. I always knew he was a fraud, yada, yada, yada. And then he's like, well, that's crap because, he stole it last night or something along those lines. And JJ's like, well, no, that's not what he said. Look at the article, dummy. He didn't report it missing until the morning. So Peter's shocked, wondering why Dr. Connors would lie. And that question is immediately answered because in the next scene it looks like Dr. Connors asking why Spider-Man must be very confused. He takes off a mask and it's revealed to be the Chameleon. So this is the first time we get introduced to the Chameleon, which is pretty cool. Chameleon then gets a call from his boss, I guess the general, stating that he didn't get the goo and that his down payment will be refunded. Chameleon also tells us two other Goonies who are also revealed to be Quentin Beck and the Tinkerer. And it's noted here that Quentin Beck is not Mysterio, he's just Quentin Beck. So that's something to make note of. He says that he'll need every single asset they have at their skill set, and it's going to be needed. And Quentin Beck asks him, he's like, well, who are we impersonating? Which political figure are we taking over this time? And he's like, oh, we're going to do something a little different this time. Spider-Man's then swinging around, and he's wondering about Dr. Connors, and he's just a smidge irritated in this scene, which is, it's a good precursor to what's about to happen to him. He's like wondering how he can clear his friendlyhood name, but by this point, as he's been talking and kind of venting to himself, the spider goo has completely taken over his body. Spider-Man's on the side of a building getting more angry while he's thinking about everything that's going on, and Black Cat interrupts him saying, she likes the new look. By this time, Spider-Man freaks out. He's like, whoa, what the heck? What happened to my suit? And the suit has completely taken over to him, and, it's taken over his body, and we finally get the full look of the suit. Spider-Man is now, he's talking to Black Cat, and he leaves because he sees a plane accident about to occur, and he's like, hey, that's the same plane accident that mine and Eddie's parents went through. So he goes after the plane, and he stops the plane, but he makes this jump that's a really difficult jump for him. He's like, wow, I made that jump. I can't believe it. And then as the plane's about to crash, the pilot hits his head inside the plane while it's starting to crash, and he gets knocked out. He has to bend the wing of the plane to detour it up and then over. And Spider-Man's like, well, I hope I can use my, I hope my strength, I'm strong enough for this. So he uses newfound strength to bend the wing, and it flies up. And he's like, well, hey, this must be the alien goo. If I can use this goo to save more people, then maybe I shouldn't return it after all. But he says to himself, he's like, it's not my call. So I think already the symbiote is affecting his mind, which makes sense. So it's just interesting to see that. Peter arrives home to see Aunt May about to pass out. May says she's been cooking a lot, and plus, being around the heat and being tired must have finally got to her. She says she'll deliver all the excess food to a food drive. Meanwhile, someone looks a lot like Spidey is seen robbing a bank. This is at Midtown Bank, and we transition to the school the next day, where Flash is being made fun of because there's a newspaper article, once again published by the Bugle, where Spider-Man is being shown as a criminal. Peter walks up and he sees a newspaper from the Bugle, and he's like, well, what the heck? It's Spider-Man with the red and blue. He's like, well, that can't be me because I was wearing the black suit, but he can't really talk about that. Flash says that any guy can wear the costume, just like Puny Parker wore it last week. And Sally says, well, the Bugle has undeniable proof. There it is. But Flash is like, there's no way Spider-Man would reduce himself to a life of crime. And he rips up the article and he walks away. And it's really nice to see our boy Flash defend Spidey like this. Spider-Man would never do that. And, you know, it's good that we have, you know, somebody like that on Spidey's side. It's nice to see. Peter looks uneasy about this, and we transition back to where Midtown Bank, where the fake Spidey is robbing the bank with Tinkerer and Quentin. Tinkerer is also sitting there taking pictures with his glasses. He's got like a camera in his glasses while Chameleon robs it. Peter then goes to the Bugle, tries to reason with Jameson, but Jameson is not having it. Says that Joe Anonymous is letting them have the photos for free, and they're getting everything they want. And, you know, this is finally the truth is coming out. And Peter leaves, and he's like, you know, he's very angry about this. We move to nighttime, where Spidey is looking out for himself. While he's looking around for what he doesn't know is the Chameleon, Black Cat interrupts Spidey, and, you know, Spider-Man starts pleading his innocence, saying that it wasn't him. And she's like, yeah, I believe you. But she said she knows where the imposter is, and so they go where, I guess the mayor's having like a boat party on a ferry or something, and she's like, well, they might, you know, he's going to strike here next. And Spider-Man's like, well, how do you know that? And he's like, oh, trust me. There's enough jewels on that boat. There's no way he's not going to show up. Black Cat sees the mayor is wearing a cat necklace, and she wants it. Spider-Man's like, hey, keep your eye on the ball. We got to get in. It's like, don't worry, I know how to get in. I'm not an amateur. The mayor is then seen talking to Captain Stacy, and she's like, you know, I really need protection. You know, he could show up and rob me at any moment. And Captain Stacy's like, I don't buy that Spider-Man's a thief. There's no way that's true. I've seen Spider-Man in action before. And then Jonah walks up and interrupts him and says, believe what you're seeing, Stacy, because this is what's happening. Stacy tells Jonah not to worry, and it's, you know, it's too late for the Spider-Man to show up on the boat as it's about to take off, but it looks like the Tinkerer is about to untie the boat. So obviously the Chameleon and Quentin are already around, they're already on board, and they are obviously going to rob the boat. We transition to where the party has already started, and Norman is on board. Norman asks the mayor, it's like, are you just happy to see me, or are you happy to see my contribution? And he's holding up a briefcase. Norman's like, all right, well, nice to meet you, excuse me. And he like runs off to the bathroom, but it turns out that that's not Norman, and it's actually the Chameleon. And when I first watched this episode, I was kind of in disbelief. I was like, well, wait a minute. We just saw Norman like go through like an existential crisis with Harry. It'd be a little weird if Norman happened to show up. And also, does that mean that, you know, he did donate some money? Did Norman donate some money and just didn't, you know, cancel because of everything going on with his son? I don't know. It never gets answered, but this is also a kid's show, so. Continuing on, Quentin is seen offering a drink to one of the sergeants, and he's like, you want a demi-tasse? And the cop looks like he's going to take, or I think it's, the sergeant, he's going to take it, and obviously he does. Black Cat and Spider are headed to the ferry on Black Cat's jet boat. Black Cat tells Spider-Man to hold on tight, and Spidey's like, well, don't worry, I don't slip, I'm Spider-Man. And she's like, well, that's not really why I told you to hold on tight. And this immediately makes Spider-Man awkward. He's like, yeah, I think we're close enough, and he hops off her jet boat. And she's like, my kitty sense is purring. And it's kind of, you know, weird to watch, but whatever. Spider-Man gets on board, and he sees the sergeant's knocked out from the demi-tasse from Quentin earlier, and the mayor is giving a toast about her re-election as the Chameleon crashes the party as the Spider-Man. Fake Spidey ties up everybody and Captain Stacy, and he's like, alright, everybody throw your jewelry in the bag, so that's what they start to do. As Stacy's getting untangled by, I think, Jonah, he realizes that Spider-Man's a fraud. He's like, wait a minute, Spider-Man's not that tall. There's no way that's Spider-Man. So he starts to go after him, but he knocks Captain Stacy down, and obviously, I don't know what Captain Stacy was thinking, but he lost. So he just loses, and that's it. Finally, the real Spider-Man shows up, and he's trying to out the fake Spidey, but the fake Spidey says he's got the costume all wrong. Real Spider-Man says he's been mourning his buried reputation, and that's why his suit looks so different. And he's like, yeah, it's like my buried rep, just like JJ's when he's about to force to print a retraction. And JJ's like, listen here, Webhead, I'm not gonna print a retraction. And he's like, see, even JJ knows I'm the real deal. So the real Spidey gets up, and he gets a one-up on fake Spidey very quickly and very easily, demonstrating his newfound strength with the alien suit. And as Spider-Man is gloating, Quentin asks Spidey for a demi-tasse, and he drops it on the ground, and it's like a sleep gas, I guess, or some sort of smoke. Chameleon and the Scoonies try to escape, but Spider-Man interrupts. Spider-Man goes after the Chameleon, while Black Cat takes out Quentin and the Tinkerer. And then as that's happening, Chameleon gets on a speedboat and he tries to take off. Spider-Man webs himself with his new symbiote webs to the boat, and Spider-Man gets pulled in. He gets pulled into the water, and there, he's kind of holding onto it back like a pair of jet skis. And Spider-Man's like, well, wait a minute, the suit is like balancing itself for me. I'm not doing this. This suit is really something. Spidey continues to glide on the water while Chameleon is starting to throw bombs at him. Chameleon's giving him a huge runaround trying to get rid of Spider-Man. He gets close a couple of times, but not close enough. At some point, Spider-Man gets on the boat, and Chameleon's like, oh, well, how about you try some Spidey punch or something like that? And it's some cheesy joke, and Spider-Man's like, man, I hope you got better jokes than that if you're going to pretend to be me or something like that. He puts on the electric gloves, and Spider-Man webs the gloves together, and it knocks him out, and he's finally able to unmask him. Jonah is seen calling, probably Joe Robertson, and telling him that they need to print a retraction. And Stacy's like, yeah, over there talking to Spider-Man. He's like, yeah, I knew you were innocent. And don't worry, we'll find out where Chameleon has the goo. And as he's telling Spider-Man that, Spider-Man's like, well, actually, and then the symbiote takes over and says, no, don't tell him that we took the goo, 'cause if you do, then you'll have to give it back. And they need the suit. They need each other. So Spidey ends up not telling him. The mayor says that her white tiger is still missing, and it looks like the Chameleon got away. And after that, they try looking for him, but he's clearly gone. He's out of sight and out of mind. We transition to where Black Cat is asking Spider-Man is asking her why she helped him, and she's like, you really don't know? And then she goes to kiss him. She takes his part of his mask off because he's upside down, and they kiss. And Spidey, I think he had his eyes closed. He's like, Cat, I had no idea you felt this way. And he's trying to talk with her and have a conversation, and she's already gone. And Spider-Man's just like, ugh. And then the episode ends. So a lot to unpack here, or actually maybe not that much, but I guess there's 3 major characters that get introduced, or maybe no, 4. There's 4 characters. We got Black Cat, we've got Chameleon, we've got Quentin Beck, and we've got the Tinkerer. I believe that's 4. And then if you want to include the symbiote, which you could technically say is a 5th character in this story. So 5 characters get introduced in this episode. So that's a lot. And if you're not paying attention, you could easily miss it. If you're not listening or you just have the episode on in the background, obviously, you can miss these things. But I think it was really cool. I'm wondering if we'll ever see the Tinkerer or Quentin become major players down the line in this series. They might not ever show up again. Who knows? I guess we will find out. But I think it was cool to see them. It's nice to see that the symbiote is taking over Spidey. And there's a cool little scene where he's upside down and he's looking at himself in the building, like a reflection in the building. And that's a nice little nod to Spider-Man 3. So I liked that a lot. This kind of gave me the vibe of what Spider-Man 4 could have looked like. If they had made Spider-Man 3 a 2-part movie where first he gets the symbiote and then he goes and fights Venom in the 4th movie. Obviously that's not what happens, and I'm gonna get into a rant, so that's probably enough on that topic. But yeah, overall I think this is a very solid episode. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 because I was really hoping we would see some more stuff with Eddie, but they're probably gonna save that for either the next episode or the episode after that, whenever Spider-Man rids himself of the symbiote. So this might be the turning point of the Spectacular Spider-Man story, where things start to get a little bit more intense for Peter and his life as Spider-Man. So I like the world building, but yeah, overall I'll give this episode a 4 out of 5. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I wanted to talk about? I don't think so. I think that about covers it. We don't really get to see Peter dealing with his other relationships. I don't think MJ's in this episode at all. And neither is Harry, for obvious reasons. So we'll probably see more of them again soon, obviously. The show's far from over. We're at episode 10. But anyways, yeah, that's my thoughts on the episode. Let me know what you think in the comments, what you thought of the episode. And if you made it this far, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. It means so much to me. And so far in episode 8, we're close to 600 views. So I think that's the highest my reviews have done so far. And so I just want to say thank you so much. Huge shout out to you. Thank you so much for watching. I wouldn't keep doing this if, I mean, I do it for fun, but if I wouldn't keep doing this if it weren't for everybody wanting more and supporting me the way that they have. So I don't want to get too much in the weeds with it, but thank you so much. And if you feel like it, if you're new here, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel a lot, and I really, really appreciate it. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me, guys. I will see you next week with episode 11, and that's it. So remember, with great power comes great responsibility. I'm Dual Dire, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.